Okay, this video is called The Most Memorable Lines in Vegan History, Nutrition History. And this is 2026, February 2026, so this is new. I have done a video along these lines before. I've added a couple new quotes to it. And there were some great quotes, sort of like the best one I've heard in a long time came from Dr. Greger in his new documentary. He said, the most common cause of premature death in America is the American diet. I thought that was a great one. I think Dr. Greger will be remembered forever for that quote. That was a magnificent quote. All right. Now, a lot of these you've heard before. I got a new one myself, too. You ready? This one I made up myself. The two most dangerous words in the nutrition world are good fats. That hypnotizes the brain of the proles and makes them behave in a stupid way. It seduces the nutritional part of their brain. Okay, now I'm just going to go through some of these. A lot of these you've heard before. Some of them might be new to you. Dr. McDougall on carbohydrate. All large healthy populations eat a starch-based diet. There are no exceptions. Humans are starchivores. Starches satisfy hunger better than fruits. There is no such thing as a fruitarian population in the real world. To start out, you should eat 90% of your calories from starch, 5% from vegetables, and fruits each. The more starch people eat, the healthier they become. If you are trying to lose weight, then eat a higher percentage of calories from vegetables, up to 50% of your calories from vegetables. You haven't tried the ultimate nutritional therapy until you've only eaten sweet potatoes for 4 months, okay? Okay, Caldwell Esselstyn. Some people think a whole food plant-based diet is extreme. 500,000 people every year will have their chest opened up with a buzzsaw and a vein taken from their leg and sewn onto a coronary artery. Some people would think that is extreme. Dennis Burkitt, high fiber diet protects patients from abdominal pressure syndrome. Dean Ornish, the joy of living is sustainable. Fear of dying is not, for motivating patients to eat healthy. Bobby Barbaro and Cyrus Koombada, the Mastering Diabetes guys. They say fruits are great food for helping diabetes patients. The important thing is to minimize dietary fat. Durian Ryder, sugar is the most powerful performance enhancer for your brain, your muscles, and your dong. Okay? He also emphasizes a low-protein diet helping people to lose weight faster. Okay? This is a quote from Neil Bernard. The thinnest people on the planet are those who eat the most carbohydrates. Your taste buds have a memory of about 3 weeks. Another advantage of avoiding sodas is you will avoid caffeine. Caffeine is a weak diuretic that causes calcium loss from the kidneys. Yeah, it contributes to osteoporosis. People in rural Japan and China, where McDonald's hasn't arrived yet, these are the thinnest, healthiest, longest-lived people with the least risk of cardiovascular disease and diabetes. Yeah, and what I would say is my quote, show me a rice eater, I'll show you a skinny person. Back when they ate tons of rice, 1 billion out of 1 billion Asians were skinny. Dr. McDougall used to say that too. 1 billion out of 1 billion. You know, white rice has only 1% of calories from fat. Wild rice has a lot more calories from fat. That's why white rice it stores longer, for example. That's also why white rice has less arsenic. That's why I eat white rice. And then my quote on white rice would be, white rice is almost like dental safe carbohydrate, sugar, okay? But it gets it past the teeth without causing cavities. Richard Moore, you can't replace a food with a pill. People need to eat a lot of potassium, magnesium, and fiber. There's no way around that. Otherwise, you mess up your membrane ion gradients. And how are you going to put that into a pill? You can't. Okay. The other thing I'd say about sugar, because a lot of people ask me, oh, what about sugar? Isn't it okay to eat sugar? Kempner gave people sugar. And I'd say, in the short run, he gave sugar to people who weren't able to maintain a body weight. But in the long run, it'll rot your teeth. A lot of people are sensitive to rebound hypoglycemia. And it also will cause leaky gut in large amounts on a chronic basis. So I don't recommend sweets. Okay, even though I know right before a big competition, some people like to, crank up on the sweet carbohydrates during the race as well, but I think on a daily basis it's a bad idea. Believe me, I've had the problem of cavity myself from doing that. Okay, some more quotes from me. Fruit tastes great, but they're less filling than starches. I'm kind of making a joke on the beer commercial there. Okay, next set of quotes. Caldwell Esselstyn. We're talking about fats now. No oil, not one drop. Moderation kills. You only see heart disease in the countries that eat a lot of meat and oils. Coronary artery disease is a foodborne illness. Coronary artery disease is a toothless paper tiger that need never exist. You can take control of your health with a low-fat vegan diet with no oil. You can make yourself heart attack proof. You no longer need to have the sword of Damocles hanging over your head. Low-fat vegan diet has 0% morbidity and 0% mortality. It works a lot better than a cabbage, coronary artery bypass graft surgery, open heart surgery, and it has no side effects. Cabbage has a lot of potential side effects. Gerald Curatola, a dentist. Olive oil is liquid gold for corporations. It's the core of the Mediterranean diet. Yeah, and that's why the Mediterranean diet is BS and the Walter Willett diet is BS. Okay? Neil Bernard, olive oil and other vegetable oils are better for your heart than chicken fat, but they are as fattening as animal fats. Yeah, they're bullshit, okay? Nathan Pritikin, fat is bad. There is no such thing as a normal occurring diet that's deficient in fat or protein. Studies with controlled diets where people ate less than 1% of fat, 0.75% of calories from fat, did very well, and that was primarily omega-6s. Michael Klaper, Dr. Klaper, paleo keto diet is self-inflicted eugenics. You can't do just one thing. Olive oil is not good for you. There really is no such thing as lean meat. It's like the leanest of the lean meats I've heard of is 25% fat, and that's high fat, in my opinion, okay? Dean Ornish, it's better to make big changes than small changes because big changes generate big results, and that increases motivation. Roy Swank, Central Norway eats a lot of saturated fat, and they have a lot of multiple sclerosis. Coastal Norway eats much less saturated fat, and they have much less multiple sclerosis. The Chinese diet is mostly rice. It's very low in fat, and I don't think there were any multiple sclerosis patients when he went to China about 1960. John McDougall, the fat you eat is the fat you wear. Fat paralyzes the insulin receptor. Fat is the biggest toxin in the Western diet. Diabetic patients, instead of carb counting, they should be fat counting. Jeff Nelson, the fat in nuts is also bad for blood flow. The benefits of omega-3 fats are highly exaggerated. Okay. Michael Brownlee, the researcher of diabetes. Excess dietary fat causes reversal of electron transport in mitochondria. This causes insulin resistance. Gerald Shulman, also a diabetes researcher, MD, PhD. With nuclear magnetic resonance spectroscopy, we have confirmed that excess fat in skeletal muscle is the main cause of insulin resistance. We call this the ectopic fat theory of diabetes. Kim Williams, cardiologist. There are two types of doctors, vegans and those who have not yet read the literature. William Roberts, the cardiac pathologist. When you feed them a high-fat diet, all herbivores get atherosclerosis. Humans are herbivores. Eggs are what you feed an animal to cause atherosclerosis. Yeah, high-fat food, animal food. Okay, and then, okay, mine, I already said the two most dangerous words in nutrition are good fats. There is no such thing as good fats except secret fat, and the secret fat is fiber. Dietary fiber in your colon gets converted to short-chain fatty acids, and unlike the other fats, this protects you from leaky gut. Okay? Instead of settling for being less fat than your cousin, it's better to try to be the healthiest that you can be. Olive oil is for chumps. There are no faucets on olive trees. It's a highly processed liquid fat. Soy and flax are Tweedledee and Tweedledum, high fat and highly estrogenic for chumps. Okay, now we're going to talk a little bit about protein. Okay, T. Colin Campbell, animal protein is the most powerful tumor promoter. Cow's milk protein is the most powerful chemical carcinogen. The vast majority of all cancers, cardiovascular disease, and other forms of degenerative disease could be prevented simply by eating a plant-based diet. You can't be protein deficient without being calorie deficient, okay? Walter Kempner, low protein diet lowers the workload on the kidneys. The main thing the kidneys do is excrete nitrogen, which only comes from protein. Lee Hull, he's a kidney disease expert. He says the more extreme the vegan diet, the more the patient improves. Okay, it's good to be extremist, okay? You know, the pros are all scared from the public schools. Oh, I don't want to be an extremist. Yeah, I want to be extremely good. I want to be extremely careful. I want to be extremely smart. To be excellence means extremism in that field, okay? And you want to be excellent in your nutrition, okay? With chronic kidney disease, the serum albumin is going up is good. That means you're winning the war. Serum albumin going down, it means you're losing. RDA recommended daily allowance of 0.8 grams per kilogram per day is far too much. Even low protein diet of 0.6 grams per kilogram per day is not enough protein reduction to help CKD patients that much. The best diet for CKD patients is 100% vegan, very low protein diet, in the ballpark of 0.3 grams per kilogram per day. That's a very small amount of protein, which he thinks will probably need to be supplemented with essential amino acids or keto analog amino acids. And what I would also say is, you know, Kempner didn't even give him anything, okay? Didn't give him any type of supplement. Leonard Hayflick, the microbiology researcher, he said human somatic cells, most cells in the body other than stem cells, germ cells, they can only divide about 60 times before they die. That's called the Hayflick limit. And that's why accelerated cell division will accelerate aging. You don't want that. And psychological stress can do that. Excessive amounts of animal protein can do that. Dean Ornish, plant-based diets and stress management help to maintain telomeres. This slows down aging. It delays arrival at the Hayflick limit. The Hayflick limit is when your chromosomes shorten with every replication because DNA polymerase can't get to the far end of the chromosome. So the more you replicate, the more you shorten until you get into the essential genes, and then the cell will die. So you don't want accelerated cell replication, you know. When you're 20 years old, bodybuilding, a muscle and strength athlete, you might want, you know, a high protein diet if you think it helps you a little bit to gain weight and you're gaining muscle. But once you get past 30 and you're not like a world-class competitive athlete, you don't want it, because then you're potentially accelerating cell replication to accelerate aging or to increase cancer rate of growth. Okay, Anthony J., there's already a truckload of negative papers on soy. Yeah, soy is high fat, high estrogenic, high protein. It's a bad food. Okay. James Mitchell, he's a Harvard researcher. He said the less protein an animal eats, the longer it lives. And that seems to be true for humans too. And you can lose weight. Everybody knows you can get people to live longer if you restrict calories. But that's no fun to starve. But you can do the same thing by restricting protein. You can do the same thing by restricting methionine. So why not do that? It's a lot easier. And animal longevity studies, less protein means live longer. It also means less weight gain. So, okay, a few things said by me. Animal protein is more leucine and methionine, so they activate mTOR, they speed cell replication, they can accelerate aging, not good. Animal foods also tend to be high in fat and high in iron. All of these things activate mTOR, mammalian target or rapamycin. It's the nutrient sensing pathway, like a building contractor. It waits to have all the building material is available, won't build until then. So if you deprive it of stuff, you can slow down cell replication, potentially slow down cancer growth. Okay. Okay. Let's see here. All right, and we talked about when you eat a low-protein diet, you don't have as many amino acids available for gluconeogenesis during the fasting phase to produce glucose from. So the body will grab fat, triglycerides out of your fat cells, and it'll send the fatty acids to be burned as brown fat for heat, and it'll take the glycerols and it'll bring them to the liver, and it'll use those to convert them into glucose. So you'll burn a lot of fat by eating a low-protein diet. That's why it helps you lose weight. Yeah, and that's what James Mitchell was talking about as well, and Kempner showed that as well. Okay, next a little bit of miscellaneous quotes. Chef AJ on weight loss. She says, eat your veggies first. If it's in your house, it's in your mouth. Okay, she also mentioned that she had to quit eating the nuts and seeds to help her, enable her to be able to lose weight. So eat your veggies first. If it's in your house, it's in your mouth. Okay, that's good advice. She also emphasized eating low caloric density foods, which means like veggies. That's why she says eat your veggies first. They're only 0.1 gram, 0.1 I think it's like they're 1/10 the density. I forget the exact number, but they're very, very low caloric density. So they stretch your stomach, and that provides satisfaction of hunger. Okay, Kim Williams, cardiologist. All right, we already went through those. Richard Moore, the blood pressure guy. He said the reason why black people in America have so much hypertension is because they don't eat enough potassium, because they eat hardly any unprocessed plant foods. Populations who eat a plant-based diet have the same blood pressure in their teens as in their 70s. Yeah, blacks in Kenya, 1929, Donison paper from the Lancet Journal, blood pressure in the African native, 1,800 consecutive adult admissions to the hospital. There was zero hypertension. The average blood pressure in a 60-year-old man was like 105/67. So blacks, they don't have a genetic problem. They have a dietary problem. They eat too much processed food. If they eat low-fat plant foods, they don't get high blood pressure. Okay, Joel Furman. The most important thing to remember about food labels is that you should avoid foods that have labels. Nutritional excellence is the only real fountain of youth. Okay? Dean Ornish. Vegetarian diet and stress management enabled men with biopsy-proven low-grade prostate cancer to lower their PSA or to at least keep it from increasing. Ruth Heidrich. The most common cause of disease is ignorance. It only took me 2 hours to become a vegan after talking to Dr. McDougall. Lorraine Day. The immune system removes cancer cells. You need your immune system to control the cancer. Chemotherapy wipes out immune system. Why would you want to do that? You aren't sick because you have cancer. You have cancer because you are sick. You need to learn about God's way of healing. Drugs don't work. Drugs don't cure any disease. Cancer doctors don't know what they're doing. They can't cure themselves. They die just as fast as other people when they get cancer. God's way is free and it's available to everyone and it works much better. I know this is a little scary. I want to scare you because a pleased person does not change. Being scared can motivate people to change for the better. Hydration is an important part of health. Okay, Jack Delatorre, chronic cerebral hypoperfusion, mouse equivalents as I call them, is the most common cause of dementia. He's the guy who tied off the carotid artery in a mouse, and then a couple months later, 2 months later, he would do an autopsy, and the brain on that side was shrunken because of underperfusion, lack of blood flow. Okay, it's not completely blocked, so it doesn't stroke immediately. There's still collateral flow, like detour flow, but it's deprived of its oxygen and glucose. It will shrink slowly. Okay, and then we don't have time to get into all that, but that's the whole theories of cognitive decline stuff. Okay, Jack LaLanne, the great physical fitness exercise guy, he says, exercise is king, nutrition is queen. Put them together and you've got a kingdom. The human body heals itself. Nutrition provides the resources to accomplish the task. Okay, it's like that Ambrose Paré, the surgeon, said, I put the bandages on, but God's the one who heals the wound. Okay, Dennis Burkett, if you have small stools, you will need big hospitals. No animal except modern man eats more sodium than potassium. It's better to turn off the faucet than to mop the floor. Dr. Greger, oh, I already did this one. The number one cause of premature death in America is the American diet. That's an awesome quote. John McDougall, give cure a chance. Start with diet therapy. You can always try the pills later. People should eat a low-protein diet. It's the food. You know, other people have said that too. Drs. Claper, Dr. Campbell. The most common cause of autoimmune disease is leaky gut. The body is always trying to heal. Just give it a chance. Give it the right food. The treadmill stress test is a conveyor belt to the cardiac cath lab and the operating room. After 5 years, coronary artery stents and cabbage do not increase longevity at all. With asymptomatic patients, there is 0% benefit from screening colonoscopy. Colon polyps often regress when a person changes their diet. Chef AJ had that. She had colon polyps. This was in her book. And then she went low-fat vegan and her colon polyps all went away. If you want to get the cure, you've got to avoid the cause. Thomas Edison, the doctor of the future, will no longer treat the human frame with drugs, but rather will cure and prevent disease with nutrition. Sounds good. Maimonides, let nothing that can be treated by diet be treated by other means. Ben Franklin, the best doctor gives the least medicines. The three best doctors are Dr. Diet, Dr. Quiet, and Dr. Merry Man. An apple a day keeps the doctor away. Voltaire, I want my doctor and tailor to believe in God so they don't rob me. Okay, well that's a good one because that's what I say. You need Christian ethics or you can't have good medicine, you can't have good science. And people will say, oh, you don't need God to do research. And I'm saying, yes, you do. Because if you don't, the corporations buy the journal, buy the scientist, and it all becomes fake, just corporate advertising. That's what most medical research is today and most nutritional words. It's all fake. Voltaire's next quote, the doctor amuses the patient while nature heals him. Anton Chekhov, what's the difference between a doctor and a lawyer? A lawyer will rob you. A doctor will rob you and kill you. Okay. Hippocrates, all disease begins in the gut. Let food be thy medicine. Ginny Martinez, she's an educator in the vegan diet. She says, you don't have to be healthy to be wealthy. Nathan Pritikin, all I'm trying to do is wipe out heart disease, diabetes, hypertension, and obesity. Gerald Curatola, the dentist, fluoride is a sacred cow of dentistry. Toothpaste should not include ingredients that require a poison control label. Yes, I think he has a point. It's rat poison. Okay, that's well known to be rat poison. It's not a joke. Okay. Oh, I got one more interesting thing to say about dentistry. We all know that fluoride's rat poison if you've studied it at all. Okay, we all know that it forms complexes with aluminum, another brain toxin, and lowers its polarity, facilitating traversal of the blood-brain barrier to get it into the brain to cause more brain damage. But it gets worse than that. I was recently reading that glyphosate, the stuff in Roundup sprayed on non-organic foods, appears to also cause a complex with aluminum and fluoride, further increasing the brain damage. So, you know, the poor stupid pros, they're eating non-organic processed food full of glyphosate. They're drinking tap water full of fluoride and aluminum. They're just giving themselves brain damage. That's why they're so stupid, okay? And like I said, I got internal medicine friends that say every single one of their patients over 60 is mentally slow. All doctors know this. You ever wonder why doctors talk in such a slow, dopey way? Hello, Mrs. Jones. The reason they talk like that is they're so used to talking to mentally slow people. You would be amazed how many people are cognitively impaired after 60. It's most of them. Okay, the average American is fat, sick, and stupid by 60. Quite often, much before that. Okay, the average American woman eating the SAD diet, they lose their looks before they're 40. They're fat, unattractive in their 30s. Whereas I can tell you, I know a lot of women that are hot, okay, that are much, much older. Take a look at Annette Larkin, 70 years old. She looks like she's 35, and she was hot when she's 70 years old. Okay, Annette Larkin. You can look her up, most beautiful grandma in the world. And her husband's a fat guy. Okay, what happened was her husband owned a delicatessen with all the meat. She was disgusted by it. They lived in Florida, so she could grow her own food. So she just became a vegan and grew her own food in her backyard. And, it's like she, had the fountain of youth. Okay, let's see. What else? All this stuff about drink 8 cups of water is nonsense. What's in that water? Fluoride, aluminum, estrogenics, and drug residues. Okay, you got to filter your water with reverse osmosis. Some people like distillation. I made separate videos on that if you want. This is a more complex subject than just that quote would imply. You don't win the game of health by trying to trick Mother Nature. You win it by doing what she wants you to do, doing what humans are designed to do, which basically means live like Adam and Eve, but keep your indoor heating and plumbing. Genesis 1:29. God said, I have put every plant on this earth to be food for you. High-tech medicine seems impressive, but it's only for uncommon and rare diseases. The common diseases are best treated with diet, the common chronic diseases. Okay, you don't cure a disease by taking a picture of it. Everybody wants a CAT scan, an ultrasound, and an MRI. You don't cure a disease by taking a picture of it. You cure it by stopping doing the things that cause it. Okay, let's see. Oh, the other thing too is, people don't understand, medical students, they learn all these rare diseases, but in the real world, I can tell you all the patients have the same disease. They've all got hypertension and prediabetes, diabetes, causing atherosclerosis, plugging up the artery in their brain, their hearts, their Johnson, their eyes, their ears, and everywhere else. So that's what you want to worry about. That's what most people die from. And those diseases, atherosclerosis, causing tissue hypoxia, they dramatically increase cancer. That's where you want to focus your attention. Okay. City tutoring math. What did this guy say? He said, the Ivy League universities have become a disgrace. The Ivy on these universities has wilted from the once Christian cathedral-like universities that have now become atheist circuit tent freak shows, a heist that masquerades as an education. There's nothing higher or educational about higher education. And I'm saying, that's a funny quote. It's from a math tutor guy. That's his YouTube channel, City Tutoring Math. But it's the same for health research and nutrition. It's become a farce, a joke, an embarrassment, an insult, a disgrace. Okay, I got a couple more quotes here. Anonymous, conventional medicine's motto is match yield to the pill, send the bill. For dentistry, it's drill 'em, fill 'em, and bill 'em. And then Hal Huggins says, with the putting mercury in there, it's drill 'em, fill 'em, bill 'em, and kill 'em. Okay. Another anonymous quote: If you eat a high-fat diet, no doctor can save you. If you eat a low-fat vegan diet, then you don't need a doctor. Okay. An internist viewer. Let's see. I'll skip that one. I just going through this real fast. Anonymous joke. I told the patient to drink some fluids and get some rest, so he got drunk and passed out. Okay. Ralph Waldo Emerson and Schopenhauer. The first health is wealth. Thomas Jefferson, every afternoon I go for a long walk. And yeah, some of the smartest people who ever lived, they recommend that. Thomas Jefferson, every afternoon go for a long walk. Same with Beethoven. Beethoven would go for walks. Nietzsche would go for long walks. Johann von Wolfgang Goethe, like the smartest German guy who ever lived, go for long walks. I can tell you, I love to go for long walks. I love to go for 6-mile walks, 7-mile walks. You really clear your brain by doing that. It's a great time to have a conversation. You got somebody to have a conversation with. If you're on a treadmill, it's a great time to read a book. I've read a lot of books on a treadmill. I like doing that. Your attention is increased. You become more alert. Because what's the purpose of a brain? To walk down a path in a prairie, a forest, a jungle, and to survive. And so what do you have to do when you're walking down a path in a forest? You better be alert. Navigate, avoid objects, have a fixed planned destination, make a value judgment, watch out for predators. Okay, so your alertness is high, which enables you to read that book. So like if I'll be on a day off trying to write a book chapter all day, is a pretty typical thing for me, and then I start getting a little tired around 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock, or 4 o'clock in the afternoon, I'll go hop on a treadmill. I can walk for 2 hours easy and maintain a high level of concentration to read after that. It improves my, you're smartest when you first wake up in the morning, but you get a second wind if you take a nap. You get a second wind if you walk on a treadmill intellectually. Okay, quote by me, you don't cure disease by taking a picture of it. Potassium is the hardworking middle class. Magnesium is the strong, mellow hero. Calcium is the bossy aristocrat like a wife. And sodium is the angry poor. Okay, there's no point in doing a coronary artery calcium CAT scan screening test because you already know you have it if you ate the standard American diet. So all you're doing is radiating your chest for no reason. Okay, let's see. I've also noticed even when it's 10 degrees below zero in any hospital in the Western world, all these pros will show up for their ultrasound, CAT scan, and CT. But if you ask them to become vegans, they'll go, oh no, I can't do that. Okay, the internal medicine textbooks are all wrong. They never say what causes chronic disease. They're just designed to sell drugs. I've rewritten all the internal medicine textbooks because they're a joke. It's pretty simple. You just look up what causes the diseases. It's easy to figure that out. Like, what causes hypertension? High-fat diets and high-sodium diets. It's not rocket science. So you avoid that, and you'll prevent hypertension. Okay. Some of this, I would have edited it more. But here's one good quote. If you plug up your arteries with a bad diet, no medical-surgical bullshitology is going to save you. Okay. You can't bypass atherosclerosis that effectively long-term because it's diffuse. It's everywhere. You have to either try to treat it with medications or treat it with diets, and the diets work a lot better if you want good long-term results. Okay. Moderation is for mediocrities. Extremism is for excellence. Okay. Health thinking should be social. Should not be social. A lot of people think when in Rome, do as the Romans do, everything in moderation. That doesn't work with health. With health, it's biblical. Thou shalt not eat oil. Okay. And other people tell me, oh, grandpa smoked and drank, ate meat, lived and fooled around with hookers, and he lived to 90. And I'm telling you, that's not good logic. If 100 blind people cross a busy street, some of them will survive, but that doesn't mean it's a good idea. Okay. Ischemic spine is the most common cause of back pain. Okay. What else here? Dr. McDougall, why try to control type 2 diabetes with a pill when you can cure it with a low-fat vegan diet? Okay. Dr. James Benny, no medication given for a chronic disease ever stops or reverses that disease. At best, it might slow the progression of the disease and it might suppress the symptoms of the disease. The low-fat vegan diet routinely lowers cholesterol, prevents and reverses hypertension, type 2 diabetes, heart disease, and something else. Okay, I think that might be it. Okay, that's it. That's all the slides I got there on quotes. I hope you found that helpful.